Hello, I'm the pageant nerd. Thanks for joining me today. Looking back over its rich history, one of the most fascinating things about Miss Universe is this. Winning the crown makes you Miss Universe, but sometimes not winning makes you unforgettable. For this countdown, I'm defining the modern era as beginning in 1996, when the competition entered a new phase of global broadcast scale, heightened spectacle, intensified international rivalry, and a certain celebrity future presidential ownership. Now, very importantly, this list is not about undermining the winners. This ranking simply recognises the first runners-up whose impact, influence, and defining moments left an extraordinary mark on the competition's history. From viral resilience to stage presence that electrified arenas, to a moment that changed live television forever. These are the 10 most iconic Miss Universe first runners-up of the modern era. If you enjoy thoughtful, respectful analysis of pageant history, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It genuinely supports the work I do here. Let's begin. When Shandi Finnessey competed in Quito, Ecuador in 2004, the United States was coming off an uneven period at Miss Universe. Despite 3 top 5 finishes since its most recent victory in 1997, the USA missed the semi-finals in 1999 and 2002, by far the shortest gap between non-placements in its history. There were real questions about whether the US had lost its competitive edge in the evolving modern era, despite occasional strong placements. Shandi helped change that narrative decisively. She embodied a classic all-American presence, warm, polished, and approachable. What made Shandi truly memorable was her evident joy. She was thoroughly enjoying herself, smiling constantly, laughing openly, and projecting a relaxed confidence that made her feel accessible and genuine. In swimsuit, she balanced athleticism with charm. In evening gown, she delivered a fluid, controlled walk that reinforced composure and poise. What's remarkable is that this infectious happiness didn't undermine her presence. It strengthened it. Throughout the telecast, she appeared comfortable under pressure in a way that made her feel like someone you'd want to root for. Her first runner-up placement wasn't just personal success. It signaled that the United States had firmly re-established itself as a serious contender in the 2000s. But while Shandi's impact was rooted in renewal, the next queen captivated through intensity. In 2007, Natália Guimarães walked the Miss Universe stage with unmistakable sensuality and control. Her stage presence was magnetic, poised, deliberate, and undeniably commanding. In swimsuit, she dominated the competition. In evening gown, her movements were intentional, almost hypnotic, each turn calculated, each glance purposeful. But beyond the polish, Natália was sweet. She was seductive, yes, but with a genuine warmth that made her more than just a beautiful face. In her final answer, she responded with charm.
Buenas noches, México.
A graceful, genuine moment that humanized her and endeared her to the audience. By the finals in Mexico City, it was clear Natália had captivated both the judges and the audience. After her placement as first runner-up was announced, the pageant world debated the decision extensively, a testament to how competitive and well-received her performance had been. What makes this placement even more significant is its historical context. Brazil, a 2-time winner in 1963 and 68, hadn't come this close to winning in 35 years. Natália didn't simply compete, she reminded the world that Brazil's pageant prowess remained formidable. Although the title eluded her, her moment at Mexico City became legendary. Meanwhile, one country had already perfected competitive dominance across decades. By 1998, Venezuela's pageant system was operating with machine-like precision. This wasn't accidental. Osmel Sosa, the legendary head of the Miss Venezuela organization since the early 1980s, had spent nearly 2 decades engineering a system of training and preparation that made Venezuelan delegates nearly unbeatable. By 1998, Venezuela had already claimed 4 Miss Universe crowns since 1979. After winning in 1996, Venezuela had placed as first runner-up in 1997, clearly back in serious contention. Veruska Ramírez exemplified that excellence. She dominated the swimsuit competition, placing first with an impressive score of 9.85. In the evening gown competition, she placed second with a score of 9.72. Her presence was commanding, statuesque, and technically flawless. Her transitions were sharp, her posture immaculate. She projected authority without sacrificing elegance. But what people remember about Veruska isn't just her technical perfection. It was her spontaneity. Beneath the precision and discipline of Venezuelan training, there was a warmth, a genuine presence on stage. She wasn't a robot executing a system. She was a woman who brought personality to pageantry. Throughout the competition, she sustained that same discipline. Controlled, refined, unmistakably Venezuelan, yet human. Her first runner-up placement reinforced a broader truth about Venezuelan dominance. It wasn't luck. It was engineered through preparation and strategy at the highest level. But Veruska reminded us that even the most polished systems need personality to truly resonate. But as the 2000s progressed, other regions began asserting themselves against Venezuela's long reign. Kurara Chibana entered Miss Universe 2006 as a clear crowd favourite, but she was also something more historically significant. Before 2006, Japan had only won Miss Universe once, back in 1959, when Akiko Kojima became the first Miss Universe from Asia. That was nearly 50 years ago. Japan wasn't a consistent contender. They were a fading memory. Kurara changed that calculus. At just 24 years old, she navigated the competition with remarkable poise and genuine charm. Her smile wasn't just polished, it was warm and connective. On stage, she blended grace with modernity, never exaggerated, never overshadowed. In her striking black evening gown with intricate lattice work designed by Olivier Teiskens for Rochard, she glided across the stage with control. But here's what made her so beloved. Without Zuleika Rivera's more visually stunning and dramatic evening gown, Kurara might have been an even more popular winner. Her charm and genuine warmth nearly transcended the dominance of her competition. Her samurai-inspired national costume, which won Best National Costume, became iconic.
J'ai habité en France pendant un an et après je suis partie en Espagne pour apprendre le flamenco et me quedé 3 meses.
During the final stages, she spoke in 4 different languages in a single answer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on the stage and I can feel you're full of energy. I'm so happy. I'm so glad. Thank you.
Showcasing fluency that transcended typical pageant English. Most importantly, her warmth and charm came through in every interaction. Her first runner-up finish marked a pivotal moment for Asia. Japan was no longer participating quietly, it was contending seriously. And it would win just 1 year later when Rio Mori became only the second Japanese Miss Universe in 2007. But sometimes, iconic moments are born not from dominance, but from recovery. By Miss Universe 2020, which was held in May 2021 due to COVID delays, Miss Universe had fully entered the social media era. Julia Gama arrived ultra prepared. She was 27 years old, a chemical engineer who had competed in Miss World 2014 and placed in the top 11. She'd lived in China as a model and actress. Her answers were structured, polished, and clearly strategic. But what made Julia unforgettable was her precision and determination. She didn't just compete, she approached Miss Universe like a mission. Every walk was deliberate, every response measured and carefully thought through. In swimsuit and evening gown, she projected competitiveness rather than softness, sharp, controlled, and intensely present. She would go on to place as the highest non-winning Brazilian since 2007, when Natália Guimarães also finished as first runner-up, as you just saw. Julia's first runner-up placement became a flashpoint for online debate. The decision sparked immense debate on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and pageant forums. Julia's placement marked a shift in how results were received and contested. Miss Universe was no longer simply watched, it was dissected in real time, analysed, questioned, and re-litigated across social media platforms. Her impact extended beyond the stage into the digital discourse that now defines modern pageantry. She became one of the most talked about runners-up in recent years, precisely because her precision and determination made her a worthy competitor in an era when every decision could be instantly questioned by millions. But long before social media reactions, there was a moment of resilience that became legendary. During the 1999 evening gown preliminaries in Trinidad and Tobago, Miriam Quiambao slipped. And then she rose, calmly, gracefully, continuing her walk with composure. The audience gave her a huge round of applause. It was a moment that would be replayed endlessly. When asked in the top 5 Q&A round, what was the last thing you stood up for? Miriam's response became instantly iconic.
When I fell on the stage last Friday, I believe that I had stood up for the rest of the women who have fallen, whether on or off stage. Through this example of mine, I have shown courage and strength of being a woman, of being who I am, and I hope to be a good example to the rest of the women in the world. Thank you.
Throughout the finals, Miriam maintained that same poise. Elegant in evening gown, graceful in swimsuit, composed under pressure. Her first runner-up finished symbolised resilience, and for many Filipino fans, it marked a turning point. The Philippines hadn't placed as high since Magi Moran won in 1973. More importantly, the recovery itself became the story. It wasn't about perfection, it was about how you responded when things went wrong. But resilience alone doesn't define legacy. Sometimes legacy is forged in a single answer. In 2012, Janine Tugonon faced a question that would resonate far beyond the pageant stage. Judge Nigel Barker, reading a question via Twitter, asked,
Hi there. Listen, as an international ambassador, do you believe that speaking English should be a prerequisite to being Miss Universe? Why or why not?
It was a loaded question, one designed to catch candidates off guard. Many pageant observers believed it was testing whether Janine, a Filipina, would stumble on an English language question. She didn't. Her response was calm, inclusive, and globally aware.
For me, being Miss Universe is not just about knowing how to speak a specific language. It's being able to influence and inspire other people. So whatever language you have, as long as your heart is to serve and you have a strong mind to show to people, then you can be Miss Universe. Thank you.
The audience erupted. Judges nodded. The response was immediately hailed as one of the best answers in Miss Universe history. At a time when the Philippines was reasserting itself as a pageant powerhouse, this was the third consecutive year a Filipina had made the top 5. That answer carried weight far beyond the stage. It redefined what Miss Universe could mean, not as an English-speaking standard bearer, but as a global influencer transcending language barriers. The answer became one of the most frequently referenced final question responses of the 2010s. It's taught in pageant coaching circles. It's quoted constantly. Yet even eloquence can't rival performance mythology. In Vietnam in 2008, Taliana Vargas delivered one of the most imitated moments in Miss Universe history. At the end of her evening gown walk in the finals, she executed a perfectly choreographed move, a precise, elegant twirl that seemed to defy the laws of physics in a floor-length gown. The Tali Vuelta. It was precise, deliberate, calculated, and unforgettable. Taliana received one of the highest televised scores in recent memory. In the earlier swimsuit competition, she also received the highest score of the night, with a beautifully choreographed performance historically overshadowed by the Tali Vuelta. Despite being a clear winner in the semi-final rounds, it was Diana Mendoza of Venezuela who took the crown. Taliana ended as first runner-up. But here's what matters. Taliana didn't lose. She influenced how future contestants would command the stage. That twirl became a reference point. Pageant coaches showed it to their contestants. It became a moment to study, to learn from, to replicate. Taliana didn't just compete strongly, she altered the vocabulary of pageant performance itself. Before revealing the top two, it's important to acknowledge earlier first runners-up whose legacies shaped the pageant long before the modern era. Helen Morgan of Wales, 1974. Later crowned Miss World before resigning days later under unprecedented circumstances, becoming a historical footnote that bridged two pageant eras. Gina Swainson of Bermuda, 1979, who went on to win Miss World and remains one of the most successful crossover competitors in history. Carolina Gomez of Colombia, 1994, whose placement marked Colombia's agonizing third consecutive first runner-up, laying the groundwork for the country's future prominence. And Manpreet Brar of India in 1995, almost secured a back-to-back for her country with an answer about women's rights that demonstrated remarkable intelligence and depth. These women prove that finishing second has always had the power to shape history. In the modern era, that power would become historic. At Miss Universe 2002 in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Justine Pasek finished as first runner-up, Panama's best result ever. But here's what made this moment historically unprecedented. For the first time in the competition's 70-year history, the succession clause was activated. The words uttered year after year, with the final two standing hand in hand.
If for any reason the new Miss Universe can't fulfill her duties, the first runner-up will take over.
Were no longer ceremonial. They were real. 119 days later, when Oksana Fedorova, the reigning queen from Russia, relinquished her title, Justine became Miss Universe. When Oksana stepped down, citing her need to complete her law degree in Russia, Justine was notified in the back of a limousine while travelling for a modelling assignment. Donald Trump formally crowned her at Trump Tower in New York City. It was unprecedented, it was historic, and it changed what first runner-up could mean forever. She became the first woman ever to assume a Miss Universe title, originally won by someone else. She became the first Panamanian Miss Universe. She became the first Central American Miss Universe. But even a rulebook rewrite would be overshadowed by something far more dramatic.
Colombia!
In 2015, Ariadna Gutiérrez was crowned Miss Universe. Her name was called. She stood centre stage. She wore the crown and sash, waving and holding the winner's flowers. For a brief moment, Colombia believed it had achieved back-to-back victories after Paulina Vega's win in 2014. Then the announcement was corrected. The crown and sash were removed. They were given instead to Pia Wurtzbach of the Philippines. It became one of the most shocking moments in live television history, arguably the most shocking moment Miss Universe has ever experienced. Host Steve Harvey misread the card. For 2 minutes and 13 seconds, Ariadna Gutiérrez was Miss Universe. She wore the crown. She experienced the moment. And then it was taken away in front of tens of millions of viewers. Yet what defines Ariadna's legacy is not the error itself. It's her composure, her visible effort to maintain dignity amid extraordinary emotional whiplash. When you watch the footage, you can see her face cycle through shock, disappointment, forced smiles, and then something harder to define. Not quite acceptance, but a kind of resigned grace. She didn't cry on stage. She didn't collapse. She didn't lash out. She stood there in the spotlight as her moment was undone in real time. In the aftermath, Ariadna gave interviews. She appeared on talk shows. She maintained her composure throughout. She may not have held the title for long, but she became unforgettable in a way few Miss Universes ever do. The most iconic first runner-up of the modern Miss Universe era. Before we finish, I know some of you will wonder why I haven't included very recent runners-up like Pravina Singh from Thailand at Miss Universe 2025. True iconicity requires time. We need distance to see how a placement echoes through pageant history, how it's remembered, how it influences what comes next. Pravina's moment is too fresh. Ask me again in 5 years. But the runners-up in this countdown, their legacies have stood the test of time. Miss Universe crowns only one winner each year, but history remembers more than just the woman who wears the sash at the end of the night. It remembers the recovery after a fall, the answer that resonated across cultures, the performance that set a new standard, the moment that stopped live television in its tracks, the runner-up who became Miss Universe anyway. These first runners-up may not have taken home the crown, or maybe they did. Either way, they shaped the modern era in ways that still ripple through the competition today. Which modern era first runner-up do you believe left the greatest mark? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely interested to see where you agree and where you'd rank things differently. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Miss Universe history, please like, subscribe, and join me, the pageant nerd, for more thoughtful analysis and countdowns just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.